this is Lola, but you can call me Lola if you like.
Hi, this is Velisa, and you can call me Vels if you want. And this is the Everybody Hates HR podcast. Oh my gosh, I do not know what episode we're on. We're on episode,
I want to say 71, but I'm not sure.
so we are on episode, no, we're on episode 71. You're right. Well done.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you. How have you been?
Yeah, I've been all right. When you're in the lead up to going on holiday, so all of a sudden you become the most productive person at work.
I hate that I hate that time before holiday. I think it's the worst time. I don't know
Yeah.
if it's worse the time before or the time after.
I think before.
Maybe, because at least after it's there and you can kind of get to it. But the before you have to, I'm not going to get to it in time, like having to hand it
Exactly.
over or hanging over. Yeah.
And
But
when we're in HR as well, like I just have this big thing of employees like saying what they want because I'm not there. They're like, well, Belisa said, and it's like, no. So just making sure that the right people have all the right information.
yeah, well, what's the situation? You looking forward to going away?
Yeah. It's my hen do, so I'm like, no, literally. Yeah, so I'm excited. Yeah. How are you, Lola?
I am good. I had one day, well, I've had a week. In fact, I've had a week. One
Girl.
when enough time, you already know. When enough time has passed, I'm gonna bring the tea to this forum. But trust me, I've had a week. It's good tea, good tea. But yeah, I'm really busy at the moment. I think when we last recorded, it's been 2 weeks now. When we last recorded, I spoke about how I was recruiting. So I'd made an offer to a HR administrator. So we're now officially a team of 3. Yeah, I'm so excited. Like it's so good. And
How old 3?
pardon?
Oh, did you not get the reference?
No, the Charmed reference. I just missed it. But I love Charmed. I would have chosen to be like Paige.
Hey,
Yeah, she was really good.
you are
She had
so
like
good.
2 powers. Who would you have
Phoebe.
chosen?
I definitely would have been Phoebe.
Phoebe has premonitions that she can't do anything about, and she can fight. Come on, let's be serious.
No,
Serious.
premonitions is sick. Yeah, I feel like Piper's one I would just use in my everyday life. So
Yeah. I know, and I wouldn't use that. I wouldn't use it responsibly. I know that. I know that for sure.
not even Prue Page. Gosh,
Paige had what Prue had, and I'm not having this discussion with you. You don't know. The real ones
you're
know.
a
The people that get it. So yeah, we're a team of 3 now, and I'm getting kind of settled into the office. I love that place. Like, it's the only office where I've ever felt like I love this place. So just getting that set up and yeah, just working. It's really busy. I love that we're just getting new clients. So yeah, lots of HR staff working across like different businesses and helping them with various things. I had to do like a dismissal this week, which was a bit rubbish. And well, more than one actually. But that's how the cookie crumbled this week. But
Yeah,
I'm planning on taking a bit of time off. Yeah, I'm planning on taking a bit of time off in like 2 or 3 weeks. So that'll be fun and I can actually rest. So yeah, that's me. What do you want to
good.
talk about today?
What do I want to talk about today? What do you want to talk about today? I feel like we've got a lot to get through.
Yeah, I've got a lot of stuff that I want to talk about.
Go on, hit me.
The first thing I want to talk about actually, I wanted to talk about it a couple of weeks ago and I totally forgot. It happened while we was away for all that time. I know you didn't, well, I don't think you watched it, but there was this whole thing, the post office versus Mr. Bates. You know what
I
you do?
watch it. No.
So basically, I'll give a rundown for you and anyone who's listening. It was basically the documentary and also a drama, and it's a true story. It's about what the post office did to a load of its employees. So basically, the post office, maybe I can't remember how many years ago, but maybe like 15, no more than that, like 20 years ago, put in place a new system, um, which was for their sub postmasters. So basically the people that run the individual post office branches. And it turned out that that system was faulty. It had lots of bugs in it, and the system was by Fujitsu. And basically, what happened was that at the end of the day, things weren't reconciling. So it kept telling the sub postmasters that they owed money. So it might be like one day it'll say you owe £500. The next day it could be like you owe £2,000. And then some people it got as far as going to like £60,000 or like £20,000. And they were like, we don't owe this money. We didn't take it. So the post office basically did loads of investigations, put these people through disciplinary, and made them pay this money back that they never owed in the first place. Obviously, at the time, they didn't know what was going on. It was before, like, I think it was like 30 years ago, before all the big social media stuff, and the post office kept telling people, well, you're the only one having this issue, but there was loads of them. And then people like lost their livelihood. Some people tried to fight it. There's like one guy who tried to fight it. He owed like £69,000, and the post office basically made an example out of him. They took him to court. He's the employee, right? And then they put all their court fees on him. So by the time they finished, he basically owed like £300,000 to them. And it happened to a load of people. And like, I think there was 4 or 5 who even committed suicide because the debt was so much like on their head. And that was like, the post office did that. And the issue, as it turned out, and it's been proven now, was the Fujitsu system at the post office knew, and they just kept lying and lying and lying. And some people actually went to prison, not the people from the post office, but some of the employees. They said they stole, and then they basically put pressure on them, said that you'll end up going to prison for a long time if you don't like basically take a plea bargain. Most of them took plea bargains and actually went to prison. So there was the whole documentary around that. And I was like, I'd never heard anything about it. And I was so shocked. I'm like, what kind of ridiculousness is that? Like, you take your employees to court over something that you know you've done. And they basically end up taking like hundreds of thousands of pounds. Well, I think it might have been over £1 million across all the different people that they said owed them money. And then they just kind of kept it there. And then a few years later, they just reported it as profit.
How is that legal?
And I don't think anyone in the post office suffered any real consequences as a result. No one went to prison, nothing. And not Fujitsu either, even though they were like the ones who caused the issue. And the guy that got everyone together, and basically, I think there was one journalist from Computer Weekly or Computer something, he covered the story. And then through that, loads of them ended up finding out that it was like a thing. And then they all came together, and then they did this class action against the post office, and they won. But the amount of money that they won, I think everyone in the end took home like £10,000, and a lot of them owed so much more than that, and they had already been convicted. And there was this Asian lady, for instance, and she had been basically shunned by her whole community because they were like saying that she was stealing money from the post office and from pensioners and all this other kind of stuff. And obviously they got a little bit of money back. For a lot of them, she actually tried to commit suicide, and for a lot of them, they never were able to kind of restore their reputations and stuff. I just found it really interesting, and I just thought, wow, like, I really don't like the post office, but now I'm done with them, except when I need to send letters.
Wow. I just don't understand how that was like legal and nobody's ever paid for that happening. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was like, I think it's because there was like a couple of different things. Obviously, the power dynamic between it being your employer, between them saying it, between a lot of people not being tech savvy. Like, a lot of these post offices were in like little corner shops or cafes, like those kind of post offices where it's not like necessarily a big post office building. So a lot of the sub postmasters, they just didn't know any better. And I just thought it was, crazy.
Damn. And has anyone, like any of the employees that suffered, come out recently and said anything?
Yeah, so the whole documentary series, it had a couple of the documentary had a couple of them, and then if anyone's listening and they can hear a dog barking in the background, it's my neighbour's dog. Can you hear Velisa?
No.
Okay, good. We're recording remotely, and my neighbour's dog is barking like it hasn't been fed. Anyway, so the documentary covered like a lot of people's stories. They've been basically shouting for a long time, and no one was really paying attention to them. They said they wanted loads of stuff. They took them to court. They won. They just didn't get enough money. By the time they divided all the millions between all the people that were affected, it was just nothing. So there's loads of accounts on, if you go on YouTube, there's loads of accounts, and a lot of, as you can imagine, a lot of the top bosses that were involved, the CEO of the post office, all these people, they just ran away. And key information, the post office, I can't imagine this ever being the case now, but the CEO of the post office at the time was a part-time vicar.
That's crazy. That's a plot twist, because what?
What? Exactly. Sorry, what? Like, I've never seen that in my life. She was a vicar, and then I think part-time, yeah. And then also the CEO of the post office. I love that for her. I love the fact that you can obviously have this whole other part of your life and still be able to kind of go on and be the CEO of company, and you can kind of outrightly like support your religion, and that's great. But I was just really shocked. I was like, what? The CEO of the post office was a vicar. Yeah.
That's a plot twist.
And I think she felt really bad. I would hope that she would, but
Good.
I mean, nobody did anything about it.
Should.
Yeah. So anyway, that's one of the things I want to talk about. I just thought it was really interesting. Highly recommended if you haven't watched it. It's on ITV. It's free to watch if you're in the UK. But yeah, I thought that was really interesting. I know you saw something on Twitter that you wanted to talk about, actually.
Yeah, because I just stay on Twitter.
Never
So
anymore.
some somebody tweeted. Let me see if I can find the exact tweet so that I'm not just saying what I want to say. But basically, it was along the lines of, okay, no, I can't see it. Sorry, I am trying to do this without my phone because my son at the moment has got my phone holding it hostage. But basically, there was a tweet that said, when you get married and have kids, you are more likely to be successful at work because you've got more to talk about. So this was just someone's tweet. There was no statistic behind it, and was basically it came from, I don't know if it was her or somebody else. It came from someone saying that they were having a conversation and with a leader, and then the leader asked them if they had kids, and they said no. And then the energy and the conversation kind of dipped from that point. But there is a statistic that says that men do better in the workplace when they do get married. They're more likely to get pay rises, they're more likely to get the job, they're more likely to be promoted. I don't think the same stands for women, but I just thought it was interesting, the responses that came through, where some individuals were like, yep, like I got married or I got engaged and everything started to happen in my career. And other people were kind of like, how do they even know what your relationship status is, and if you have children, like, why are you sharing so much at work, basically? And then obviously others were, pretty neutral with where they stood. But yeah, I just found it really interesting, that that's become like an observation from my age group, I'll say, because when you're younger, you're not really thinking that way, and you will be around like a majority of people who are single and don't have children and just living their life. But I guess as you get older, you notice that stuff a little bit more. But I don't know. I don't think, I don't know. I don't think it applies necessarily to women, but some women in the comments were like, yeah, me too.
Do you know what? I haven't heard of I've heard that before, but I just Googled while you were talking the statistic that I was thinking about, or the thing that I've seen, and it was about recruitment, and it says it's from the research collection or something, but it says employers prefer to hire married men because they believe that aforementioned characteristic will result in them being more reliable workers. And I've definitely heard a lot of people say that when you're married in a recruitment process, especially, it's like helps you because they just assume that you've got a family, you're not going to want to jump around, you're going to want to be like more steady, you're going to be reliable, you're going to stay for longer. Whereas when it comes to women, if you, for instance, hire someone that's recently married, just assume that, they're going to go, going to have kids. Yeah, that's going to come. They'll have to take maternity leave. If they've got one child already, maybe they'll want to have two. If they already got children, maybe they're going to need like additional flexibility, which you don't want to give. So I definitely think that being married and or having kids makes men seem more reliable, but makes women seem less reliable. And outside of that, I Googled married men in recruitment. That's the search term that I Googled. And this is so unrelated, but one of the, when you Google and then you get a bunch of questions that you can kind of expand. One of the questions here, there's like, these are the questions. Do married men earn more than unmarried men? And then the next question is, can a happily married man fall in love with someone else?
Nonsense.
I'm like, what are you researching? What?
Oh, God.
But yeah, I definitely think it's a thing for sure. Apparently, it's called the Married Men Premium. I'm looking at it now. The male marriage premium, and it basically says that there's a premium for married men that they get on top of their salary.
So what I'm hearing is men benefit more from getting married than women. I hear it.
This is not news, but yeah, it's I've seen it though. I've seen it, like I've seen it the other way. Like um I've never seen marriage or children reflect fully on men, but I've seen it reflect fully on women.
Yeah. Yeah. I just thought it was interesting because, yeah, just so many mixed reviews about it.
And also, I definitely think there's something there around leveraging those, leveraging your marriage or your kids to talk about promotion and pay rise. Because I definitely know there have been men that have gone to their also male bosses and said to them, "Oh, we need a pay rise," um, we've got another child on the way, like stuff that a woman, if she said it, you'll be like, well, you chose to have kids. You know what I mean? But with men, I've got another child on the way. Like, I don't want to leave, but obviously I need to support my family. Like, we're looking to do this, we're looking to do that, we want to buy a house. Like, having those kind of discussions as a man, I definitely think it's not seen as negatively as a woman. If you basically came to your employer and said, I need more money because I have another baby, I think most people would look at you like, why didn't you consider that before? Whereas
Do you
if you
think,
come and be like, yeah, 100%, 100%, not well, I don't know about most people, but a lot of people would think like, why didn't you think about that before? Where I think if a man came and said, "Oh, my wife is pregnant, so I might be looking to, well, would like to get a pay rise, or I might have to move on," I think they'd be more likely to want to retain that man as well, because obviously he's not the one that's also going to be going on maternity leave.
yeah,
So,
but do you think that if for example, if a man starts at a job and he's mentioned that he's married and he has a child on the way, but hasn't related it to his pay or whatever. And then there's like a calibration session and there's comp discussions. Do you think the leaders of those people are going into those meetings about comp and stuff and thinking, do you know what? So and so does have a baby.
no, I don't know in that context for sure not. But I think there'll be a more sympathetic area if that employee raises it. I don't think they go in and think, oh look, it's got a person coming away. I have definitely been in sessions where leaders have said, oh, they make the link themselves. So for instance, if you're talking about, the pay review round and you're like, when you're thinking about flight risk, you might say, well, such and such has a baby on the way, and I know that he's probably going to be thinking about finances. Like these things definitely come up. I don't think it's the deciding factor, and I think it's probably worse in small organizations than in big organizations. But they definitely have those kind of conversations. Like I've seen it be where you've got someone, it's kind of unrelated, but you've got an employee that lives at home with their parents,
Mm.
and then you're like, well, like that had even played a part. Like, well, such and such lives at home with their parents, or I know such and such just bought a house. Like those sort of things. I do think like the personal circumstances, they shouldn't come into play, but they definitely come into play. Or thinking like you don't have to pay someone as much because they live at home or because they're younger, even if they're doing the same job.
Yeah, it's like the case we discussed, right, about the woman who they found out her husband was on X amount of money. So we're like, we don't need to give you any more money because your man's a baller, basically. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's exactly like that. But I definitely think for men, it does make them seem more. I think in general in society, married men are just seen as more reliable than, bachelors, if you want to call them that.
Yeah. Interesting.
But
Very
obviously, sometimes it doesn't always correlate. Because I know some, not personally, but I've definitely met some very irresponsible married men.
for real. So,
What? Yeah. Go to Nigeria, there's lots of them. um, I also saw something that I wanted to talk about. And I will preface this by saying I don't like Dwight Yorke. Yeah, I can't stand him. I think he's a insert lots of
deadbeat.
bad words here. He's a deadbeat. That's even the least of what I was gonna say.
Yeah,
But yeah,
that's a nice one.
he's definitely a deadbeat. Like he's a useless guy. But basically, he came out and said he made a comment
Sorry,
about
sorry, because I know that our age range, majority sit in our age range. So when we say Dwight Yorke and he's a deadbeat,
Okay.
you'll know exactly
Okay.
who we're talking about. But for those who may not know who deadbeat Dwight is,
So Dwight Yorke is an ex-football player. Who did he play for? He played for a lot of teams, Man United. He also played for Aston Villa, Birmingham City, and most recently Sunderland, right? So he also was in a relationship with Katie Price or Jordan, and he is the father of Harvey, Katie
any
Price's
chance to
son.
show your age? Sorry,
But
just saying, Jordan. Okay,
Jordan, Katie
yeah,
Price,
like
Jordan, whatever.
you're a certain age to refer to.
She'll always be Jordan,
Yeah,
mate.
Price's
Anyway, he's the father of yeah, Harvey, Jordan's son. Katie Price's son. You would have never seen him because he's a deadbeat. Yeah, he's literally like, he's not a present father. You know that whatever you want to say about Katie Price, she's gonna ride for Harvey, and Harvey's pretty much like the only, you know, steady parent that he's got. So that's why I don't like Dwight Yorke, among other things. But even, you know, a broken clock is right twice a day. So Dwight Yorke has basically come out and said he thinks it's racism why there's not more black players who become then transition into management roles in the Premier League. So when I say management roles, I mean being the manager of a club like Arteta or Pep Guardiola or Ten Hag or whatever, those kind of managers, right? Not coaches. And he said the statistics around it are that black players in the Premier League make up 43%, which is crazy when you consider obviously the demographics of the country and that we're only
yeah.
3 or 4%, yeah, but we make up 43%. One thing black people can do apparently kickball. And then managerial positions, there's 4.4%. So even though they make up 4.43% of the players, they only make up 4.4% of leadership and management positions and 1.6% of executive leadership positions, right? So Dwight Yorke, they asked him about it, and he basically came out and said, yeah, he thinks it's just racism. Like he thinks there's lots of bias, and that's why the players are not being, that's why black players are not being selected. And then a guy called Joe Barton, who I've got lots of negative things to say about as well. He was a player as well. He played for Man City, and then he went on to be a coach as well, a manager rather, but in League One. Yeah, so the one of the lower leagues. And he basically came out and said, this is what he said: pure racism on here again. Whites are bad. Drop me out. Dwight can't get a job because of his arrogance, not because he's black, because he's out partying like a clown. Turned his back on his disabled kid, then only wants a job at top clubs like Aston Villa, etc. Doesn't want to start at the bottom and work his way up. Everyone knows that. Everyone with a brain. Stop race baiting. It's pathetic. Darren Lewis at the hub of it. Shock. Reverse racism is racism, lad. And then he did a black thumbs up, which I think is crazy because he's a white man.
Joe Barton is mad. When your brother is a murderer and it was a racist attack, like why do you even have so much chest to speak on this subject? You should be so quiet. Why are you even speaking on it? You're wrong. And also, like, well, I mean, I can't speak for Dwight, but you're wrong because of course there'll be an element of racism involved in why there isn't that many black managers.
No, his whole thing, right, was that it's not because you don't want to, it's not because no one wants to hire you, it's because you should go into the lower league and you should work your way up as a manager. And so I was like, look, objectively, let's see what the situation is, right? So I did some Googling, and my understanding is that in recent years, there's been, well, since the beginning of the Premier League, there's been 53 players who have gone on to, 53 players in the Premier League who have gone on to become managers also in the Premier League. Some of them successful, some of them not successful, most of them kind of unsuccessful, to be honest. Of those 53, only 10 were not white. Yeah. So basically, kind of like basically says that you're 4 times more likely to become, if you're a Premier League player, become a manager in the Premier League if you're white than if you're black. And I just kind of feel like, I think definitely there's something about working your way up, especially if you're not like one of the top players in the Premier League. But if you're quite a a senior player in the Premier League in terms of experience and skills and clubs that you worked in and talent, then why should you have to work your way up from the bottom? And why are we overlooking the fact that there's so many examples of white men in the Premier League who haven't had to work their way up from the bottom? And black players are also more likely to, if they go into management, start in a lower league. And I think some of it is obviously like, do the right things. He also said something about he goes on the coaching courses and they're not on those coaching courses. They just want the jobs without doing the work, all this other kind of stuff. But there's definitely something to be said around why do you expect black people to work their way up, but it's not something that other like the white players have to do as much. So I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, obviously, you've got to make sure in everything that you put the work in and you're doing the right things, you're getting the right qualifications for the role. But I think this whole thing where you completely overlook that, there's a clear disparity just reminded me of the corporate world. Like, it's the same in football. In fact, it's probably worse in football because black players contribute they contribute so much to these teams. How can they be 43% of Premier League players? That's crazy. That is crazy. 43% of Premier League players are black.
That's high.
That's crazy.
But I would like to know how many black players actually want to be managers. Because maybe, like, on the flip side, maybe they just like, that's not my path, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see and to my knowledge, like with a lot of the football managers, they are quite old, like not old, like apart from what's his face that they've now got rid of from Crystal Palace, but they tend to be on the older side. Like I know Patrick Vieira was managing Crystal Palace. Yeah, but then the ones who were like more recent, I would say like in their prime when we were younger, like the Lampards, they've tried and failed. And they were given the chance to like try.
But that's the main thing. They'll give him the chance.
Like, and well, yeah. So yeah, but I don't know. I would like to know how many black players actually want to be managers.
Yeah,
because I think it's a really hard job. Because look at
it is a hard job.
Like Thierry Henry was an amazing football player, amazing striker. He went into management and he was okay. He didn't do that well, So I feel like, is it just skill set as well? Not that, it'll be interesting.
Yeah. And I think that's would be really interesting to know. Like, it'd be good if someone did this is the kind of data that I'm interested in, like I'd be good if someone did a study into what were the aspirations of some of the people who have kind of retired from being Premier League players. And if they didn't want to go into management, is there a particular reason? If I'm looking at management and I'm a black player, it's the same as if you're in a corporate job. When I was at, in certain corporate roles and I realized that no one in the leadership team is black, I kind of think, what's the point, like, in even trying? Because even if I get there, it's going to be long. So, like, maybe some black players feel that way in terms of if there was more representation for them, they would be more interested in pursuing that as a path. Like, they're just human beings at the end of the day. And if you know that it's stacked against you in terms of the odds, then why would you bother to pursue it? Yeah, and also, do they have? Is the skill set of black players any different to the skill set of white players? I'd probably say probably not.
Yeah, it's a good point. I do feel like more black players are going into punditry, though. I don't know what that says.
I think it says that people see black people as entertainers, but
I was going to say it, but yeah. But anyway, let me hold my tongue. But yeah.
Do you know what? There was talk of again from Dwight Yorke, who I don't rate, talking about whether a bunch of ex-black players would come together and just buy a club and then just run it themselves and all of that other kind of stuff. And I was like, that's such an interesting idea.
What they do is all go and play for their own country. Saka, go and play for Nigeria.
No, we're talking about ex-players. I love Saka, and because of that, he should never play for Nigeria.
No, but more of them to go and play for their country.
Yeah, but why? If I was a football player and if I was Saka, for instance, and I could play for Nigeria, I could play for England, you literally have to I don't know what kind of judge you'd have to do to get me to play for Nigeria. It doesn't make any sense.
The thing is, so England can obviously Saka's really good, but England could drop you at any time. Nigeria won't drop you. That's why people like Alex Iwobi are playing.
It won't be, yeah.
Yeah. Like they know Nigeria's not going to drop me.
No, if Iwobi got called up to England, he would have never been. He would have never even considered.
More that going, because that 44% in the Prem, let people see actually, you know, if all these people go to their own team, what we have,
Yeah,
you know.
it's true. And when they were talking about buying their own club, it was kind of worrying to me because I was like, it's one of those things where it's like, if you did it and you did it well, it's like anything when you're in like some sort of minority, if you do it and you do it well, people will clap for you, maybe not as hard as they should. But then if it goes badly, then they'll be like, yeah, well, do you know what I mean? Like there'll be so many people who prey on the downfall of that club. There'll be so many people feel so aggrieved that it was like something that, even though there's, I don't know, like almost half of the players in the Premier League are black, even though with all the data that we have, they will still feel aggrieved that a bunch of black players came together to empower themselves in this way. And I think it would be really frowned upon by a lot of the footballing community and also by a lot of fans. They'll say stuff like, oh, football's for everyone, kick out the racism. Do you know what I mean? But always in the wrong context. But one more thing I'll say about Joey Barton is that recently he also made comments about Eni Aluka and who's the other lady, Lucy someone, the commentator. What's her name? Oh, what's her name? But basically, Eni Aluka is a ex-footballer. You see her a lot with, I think she does Amazon. She's a black woman and she played for Chelsea and she also played for England. Like she's one of England's top women's players. And there was an issue she had where she had basically called out racism in the team, and then that kind of like she basically got dragged online and all this other kind of stuff. And she's really been through it. She was a football player and also a part-time lawyer. Because you know a lot of them they got to work, and I think now she does like punditry and stuff full time. But he basically had called her out because she does like not punditry, well sort of punditry. And I can't remember the lady's second name. It's Lucy something. I'm going to find her name. But he basically called them out and likened them to Fred and Rose West. Lucy Ward, that's her name. He likened Eni Aluko and Lucy Ward to Fred and Rose West. What a ridiculous thing to do. Yep. Because they don't know anything. They're committing crimes against football. That you should stop having women involved in the game. All this other kind of stuff. And he has said so many vile things on his Twitter. And Eni Aluka basically responded and he was like, no, I'll continue doing it. ITV put out a statement saying that they don't condone, I think maybe Eni Aluka was for ITV actually, but they put out a statement saying they don't condone it. It's absolutely abhorrent what he said. And the thing with Joey Barton that I just think is crazy is that he was a manager. And obviously when he was a manager, he wasn't talking the way he's talking now. But given that this guy was a manager and would have managed black players, what do you think he would have thought about them? Like, it's just crazy to me that you could be talking so openly and you are somebody that would have had someone's career in their hands. It's crazy. The kind of things that he said, if you like, I won't even repeat some of them, but if you go on his Twitter, you'll see all the vile things that he said. Disgusting.
You know, serious. People like that, you just have to block and move on because they're crazy.
Literally. Yeah. No, while since we got into our football bag.
I know. We're jumping back out now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so basically there was an employee, she was a payroll assistant or payroll specialist, and she worked at a company, I want to say a shipping company, have no idea, but she worked at a company, and during COVID they moved from cash expenses to bank transfer, and the fact that they did that in 2020 blew my mind, because until 2020 they were doing cash like payments, so you would claim your expenses and you'd get paid them back out in cash. But because of COVID, they decided that to reduce contact with people, they started doing bank transfer. And this savvy but not too savvy person came and the payroll manager or payroll specialist or whatever she was basically realized that it'd be so easy to basically start making payments to herself and be undetected. And this is what happens when you don't have good separation of duties, you don't have good approval systems. over the course of 3 years, she basically sent herself £85,000. So she kept making like transfers to herself, transfers to herself when she was paying expenses to other people, just making up expenses. And she managed to get £85,000 from the company before the MD clocked. So she was a mother of two, and she basically said that she was doing it to feed her family initially, at least, and that she didn't mean for it to ever go this far, blah blah blah, all the things that obviously you would say when you get caught. And she then confessed when the managing director caught her, told the police, and then under police kind of caution and questioning, then she kind of came out and said what the truth was. And I just think, I don't even feel bad for her. She was a payroll assistant, in fact, and it was £85,000 in fake expense claims. And she didn't go to prison. She got a 1-year suspended sentence, and she also has to do, I can't remember how many hours, but she needs to do 150 hours there of kind of like unpaid work or community service, and she'll have to complete a 12-day rehabilitation order. But as long as she does those things, and she doesn't get in trouble obviously for a year because she's on a 1-year suspended sentence, she doesn't have to pay the money back, and she's not going to prison.
Okay, I mean, she got off light then.
Do you see what I mean? Like, they basically said it would be pointless telling her to pay back £85,000, basically saying that she obviously doesn't have the money and it would be pointless to expect her to do it. But I'm like, that's crazy. Like, if I knew that would be the outcome of it, I'd get £85,000 tax-free over 3 years from basically stealing, and I knew that all I'd have to do is work 150 hours. That's how many weeks work is that?
That's her salary. Yeah.
That's 4 weeks work. That's a month. That's a month's work. If I knew, okay, work for it, I have to do a month's worth of work. I have to do something else for 12 days. I would have to do all of this, and I'd get over the course of 3 years. So basically, I'd get just under £30,000 extra a year in my pocket, and that's the outcome. I might roll the dice. I might.
True. To be honest with you, that's kind of light, because you just reminded me that my former employer Meta, it's not a secret, but she was a head of diversity, so we were there at the same time, but she's based in the US. Her name's Barbara Furno, like it's on the net, so I feel like you can go Google it. And she stole $4 million.
That is not where I thought you were going.
From Meta.
Sorry, what? This is the head of what?
D&I. So we know that she's, she's a black woman. Yeah. So
she stole what?
$4 million. $4 million.
That's crazy.
$4 million. She basically.
That's your money from. You're not in payroll or something.
So she basically linked her Cash App and stuff to her corporate cards. And like she's quite senior, so I just feel like maybe that meme of the security like barely patting people down. I feel like that might be how she got away with it. But basically,
what's her name?
Barbara Furlow Smiles. And she was basically using the money to like pay for babysitters, her kids' private school, for like luxurious like dinners and stuff like that. Bearing in mind, like this is someone who wouldn't have been underpaid or would have needed. I mean, 4 million is a lot, but
I'm looking at the article now. Crazy. She was cute though.
Yeah, she was so nice. Like you'd never know. Like when it first came out, like
I don't really feel the teeth.
When it first came out, so many of my like former employee friends were like messaging me like the article and stuff, because we could have known
that. Crazy.
Yeah, like it was 4 million, and it went to federal court, so that's how you know it's bad, because they're nice people. They would deal with it internally, like, if they really wanted to. But she's got, I think it's even this month that she's got caught because she's pleaded guilty now. So that's going to be crazy, because she's not going to get another job like that. Yeah.
Wait, no. So it was between 2017 and 2000. So they must have caught her after. It says 2017 to 2021. They must have caught her like.
I think she was part of the redundancies.
Okay. It says her sentencing is scheduled for the 19th of March.
Oh, yeah, see?
Sentencing. So does that mean she could go to prison?
She is definitely doing jail time. Come on.
Are you serious?
Of course
Oh,
you're
they're gonna put her in the bin.
Oh,
So
100%. 4 million, you're definitely going to the bin.
she better start looking at them. You know them TikTok videos where they say you have to do gel makeup.
Nah, for real, because the cocoa powder.
How you make a birthday cake out of marshmallows? No, she is going in the bin. Oh, that is unfortunate for her.
4 million, like that's not light.
That is, listen.
That's
The thing
crazy.
is, yeah.
That's
No,
crazy.
let me. One thing I'll say, yeah. I don't condone stealing. I don't condone any of these things. But the thing that always pisses me off about these things, yeah, is why can't you do it moderately? Why do you have to be greedy? Why do you have to be stupid? Obviously, don't do it. But the thing that always gets these people caught is because they do it excessively or they do dumb stuff. That person, that lady who was stealing from her employer, the payroll assistant, cool. COVID was hard. You've done it. You've gotten away with it. How is it still 1 year later and you're still doing the same thing? Do it and dip. You know what I mean? Like you've had like, imagine just thinking you're gonna get away with this forever, or this lady thinking she can run up about 4 million private school. No,
Do you know how that the audacity? Like it's so cheap.
it's audacious. It's so audacious.
It's
So audacious. It reminds me actually of probably the last thing I'll mention. There was a story that I saw, and again, it's the exact same thing, right? There was a worker at BP. So a lady at BP, I think in the US, she worked in the M&A team, so the mergers and acquisitions team, and she works from home, and her husband also works from home. So her husband was like, they said like 20 foot away from her or something, so he could hear her calls, and she was working on an acquisition. So there was like a petrol station that they were going to acquire, like a petrol station chain called Travel Centres. And before that acquisition went, he obviously heard about it. This is what they're saying anyway. He heard about it. He heard her on calls, and he quickly went and bought a bunch of shares in this company. And so when after the acquisition, the share price of the company went up. Let me see if I can get the details. The share price of the company went up from $49.94 to $84.83. So what went up by like 80% or something. And then he cashed out and he made a profit of $1.76 million. So obviously he had to have some money. But what did he do? They either have to be rich, or he took all their life savings and plunged them into these shares, right? And he made 1.76 million in the matter of what months or weeks or whatever. And he got caught. And of course he did, because if that's me, and my personal opinion, yeah, and this looks cynical, is that his wife knew. Yeah, that's my personal opinion, because there's no way you can tell me. I know some men are audacious, but how are you doing that and you're going to put your wife in a precarious situation and not tell her? Yeah. But if they just did it and they got like, if someone said, here, do you want $50,000 for free? You would say, yeah. Why couldn't he just make $50,000? Why couldn't he just make $100,000?
I think you have to go so far.
Why do you have to go so far? I don't understand. Why couldn't you cash out earlier? Like, I just don't get it. Like, who is going to buy? Again, and you have to don't be dense. Who's going to go and buy all these shares randomly just before a transaction in a company, some random petrol station chain, when nothing has been announced? And you thought, not even that you bought it across you spread it across a portfolio. You went and said, coincidentally, this company that's just about to go through a transaction, I'm going to buy probably more shares than anyone has ever bought at once for no reason.
Do you know what? It's just greed. That's all it is. It's just greed. And before we wrap up, let me talk to you about greed. Yeah. So,
I don't know what you're going to say. I'm just excited.
So everyone knows that I'm the one who stays on the streets. Yeah. And Olanico, if you don't know who Olanico is, she makes like these amazing wedding dresses and does this like thing with mesh for black skin that looks almost like your skin. So, while she caters to all brides, black brides love Olanico. And Alanuco.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever, innit? I have my wedding dress, it ain't from her.
Let me tell you something quickly before you say this. I've just realised what you're going to say. And even though you mentioned it before, I didn't realise that that's the company that thing's about. So I'll let you talk. But what I'll say is Alanuco is run by a lady called Bemi Okunola. That's how it's her name backwards, right?
Yeah.
Like she was on The Young Apprentice, and when I was at Deloitte,
Yeah,
the Black,
yeah.
the Black History Month.
Mm.
Yeah, and I had a Black History Month with them when I was at Deloitte, and they were talking about like the future of, I don't know, something, I don't know. But I booked her for her very first speaking gig that she ever had in her life. And I was thinking that when I get married, maybe that will count for something in it. But also, I didn't know that she was the one who that thing was about. So I let you speak now. But that's crazy.
Oh,
I know what you're gonna say. No, I didn't know. I didn't know it was her.
so
But go
basically,
on, go on.
there's I think I even mentioned it on the last episode, but there's a podcast called The Bride Room. And this woman called Felicia went on it, and she was talking about her experience with Alanuco as a dress designer, and she ended up with a quote of 21K for her wedding dress. 500 pounds of that was a sketch, and the sketch was so like it's so cheeky that she charged 500 pounds for this sketch. Like, it's all just greed. Yeah, 500 pounds for the sketch, 150 pounds if you want her to be the one that meets you instead of one of her staff members for the consultation. She charged her 150 pounds to add one extra button to her dress. Yeah, she charged her 4,000 pounds for an express fee when she's the one who rescheduled when the bride should come and get her dress. Yeah. And then the actual dress was like maybe like 16,000, between 14 and 16, I can't remember. And then when she received the dress, it came in some like dege bag. It had red stitching on it. It had holes in the mesh. It was not compelling. It was just a mess. And I just thought, do you know what? This is just pure greed. And like, let me land in terms of connection. Like, it's just greed. When you're greedy, this is what happens. Things, loose ends, carelessness. Like, so all those people that are, are one expense won't hurt, one expense won't hurt. That's how it starts. Greed, greed, greed. She got greedy. And now there was a live with over 3,000 people listening to this girl's story with all the receipts, all the emails, all the pictures that she had.
Are you one of the 3,000 money?
Girl, listen, when she said going live at 8 p.m, I said, okay. I was in the kitchen, I was cleaning, I had it on loud.
Mate, I love that. I love those. So I love messy things on the internet. Sometimes I try to pretend like I don't, because but I do. I really do.
Nah, I
do
do
myself.
And it's so funny. It's like, I came across her live the day before on TikTok as I was scrolling, and there was like maybe 200, 300 people in the live. So for the next day for over 3,000 to be in it, I said, yeah, this country, we like gist in this country, because how did that happen?
I know you also watched Who the Fuck Did I Marry?
Of course, I did.
Listen, I listened to that thing when I was walking to work like it was a podcast, and I
thought 100% listened like it was a podcast.
It is crazy. I had to speed it up sometimes, or a lot of it. But for those of you who don't know, there's this woman, Risa Tisa, on TikTok, and she basically grew to like 3 million followers in a week, telling the story about how she met, married, and then ended up divorcing a man that was just a pathological liar, and all the things that he told her and all the things he went through. And it was just like she's just a really good storyteller. So if you haven't, and she's put it on a playlist so you can listen to it. But I'm so happy for her, because like, she had all these dreams and stuff, and that guy took her on a wild goose chase. But now, with all the stuff that she's gone from TikTok, she's probably going to be able to do all the things that she wanted to do.
Delta have paid for her flights too.
Yeah, I saw.
Yeah, so like, she's gonna have a blast in Paris and London. A bit of an unpopular opinion though. I do feel like, I know she like justified and was like, she saw this and that, and she is really sweet, but I'm so sorry, she's dumb.
She is dumb. I think she knows she was dumb. She said in the thing, and what she said, was that having a man that could look after you and pay for your bills so that you didn't have to was intoxicating. And I thought that was a really good. I thought that was a really good thing. There's loads of stuff that she knew this guy was married and was lying to her for a very long time, but she overlooked it because the money was flowing. And obviously, unpopular opinion again, it was only when the money stopped flowing that it got really long for her. Like,
and literally, that's what I'm saying. Like, she's just dumb. Like, why did she move in with a stranger during the pandemic? But anyway,
because he was paying for her bills. I don't like, honestly.
She got when she was trying to finesse first, basically.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah,
the kind of lies that he told were just I really wish, yeah, that we could talk about HR stuff, but I really wish that we just had a podcast to talk about the nonsense, because
I know.
there's a load of stuff that I'd love to talk about online. Like, there's so much stuff.
We should
Yeah.
do spin episodes when we're back of like Love is Blind and all that other stuff.
Do you know what? I'm gonna just quickly. Let me just take 2 minutes on Love is Blind. People are mad. That's the first thing I'll say. Yeah. AD. Yeah. I'm rooting for her, but she's
I
also
think they're gonna
mad.
get married, you know.
I think they probably will. I think
Yeah.
she's got a man who really wants to be like a family man, but also I don't know why he thinks that
He's an idiot.
he has the spirit of cheating.
He's an idiot. Not even Will Smith has not cheated. Shut up.
And Diddy, Will Smith and Diddy were the examples that he gave. But to be fair, this was a year ago. Yeah, but even a year ago, I think
I don't care.
a horrible person then, and Will Smith and Jada were not goals. So, like, he's crazy. One thing I will say about AD is, I don't know if you watched the most recent episodes, but the way she gathered Sarah Ann, she asked us the real questions. One thing I hate is when you see TV.
One thing that Nick and Vanessa will never do.
Yes. I hate when I see two people having a conversation and one person's trying to justify themselves and the second person doesn't hold them to account and doesn't ask the right questions. AD asked all the right questions, and I was like, I love that for her and I love that for us. I think that I didn't really like Laura at first, but I like her now because obviously, like, Jeremy is a fuckboy, and she realised Jeremy is actually insane for acting like, why won't you let this go? Sarah Ann is just interested in being some dreadless celebrity, and she did this thing where she's like, oh, so my feelings aren't valid. Your feelings are valid if you like, that's fine. But it doesn't mean that you can go and DM someone's fiance. That is crazy. Like,
the jet ski scene was hilarious though.
it's crazy. And that's a perfect example of that man is so bothered. If Laura had come and been like, oh yeah, I'm willing to try again, he would have as well. But as soon as she was out, then he was as well.
He was out.
Chelsea,
Yeah.
aka Megan Fox.
I can't stand her.
To be honest, she does have some similarities to Megan Fox. I will say that there's some her facial.
Does not like her.
Yeah, some of her facial features are there. What I'll say is that she's
more like Cherry Underwood, I think, out of those, you know, when they was asking her who she looks like.
Yeah. She's too damaged to be on the show.
I can't. Yeah.
She's got the insecurity is off the chart. She should not be on the show. Jimmy, I feel like, really hated her, but I don't know what love potion did she put in her vagina, because he seems to be actually warming up to her, and it's scaring me because I'm like, this woman is doing all the crazy things, and it seems like he's becoming more and more into her. So the kind of love potion that she's doing on TikTok,
it's so toxic. And one thing I don't like is when people make me side with men. Chelsea, you've got me siding with Jimmy when I don't want to. But you're mad. You're too mad.
She's too mad. She's too mad. She doesn't have boundaries. Like, everything. Nah. I was like, Jimmy doesn't like this woman. You should let her go. But also, Chelsea's mad. And actually, in this situation, I feel like Jimmy's a victim. And I really hate that for me too.
Exactly. I don't want to be siding with Jimmy, but she is infuriating. I cannot stand her. And then the thing, her missus, that I don't understand how condoms work. I just don't.
No. Do you know what? Yeah, I like Amy and I like Johnny. What else?
I like them, but I don't know why they're doing this dance. Like, condoms don't exist.
Oh, it's so funny because Johnny. Anyway, I won't make the dumb joke. But yeah, I like them. I think she's saying that she doesn't want to go on like hormonal birth control, which I obviously get. And I think he doesn't want to do. I think it must be him that doesn't want to do the other thing. Maybe they both don't want to do it. Because I don't know why they're acting like condoms are not a point.
He said he could get a vasectomy. Amy, why are you asking a 27-year-old to get a vasectomy?
What you say that he's open and then he came back and said, oh, I just actually Googled what a vasectomy is and I'm not on it?
Like, exactly. What's going on here? Like,
I don't think they know enough about the birds and the bees, because how are you asking a man,
what?
Like, it's crazy. I don't know what kind of sex education that they got.
They're very confused.
But I like them. I like them.
Yeah.
I like them, yeah. Clay and AD, I don't know. Clay came on TV to tell the world that his dad used to take him, that his mum doesn't even know, but his dad used to take him on his cheating excursion.
And that's why we're never going to meet Clay's dad now, because, like, he can't show his face. That would be mad.
I bet, oh, mate, no. Imagine saying that.
Like, I think it's crazy that Clay did all that talking. It doesn't make any sense.
I think it's crazy. I do think that he wants to be a good. I think he has good intentions. I think he's just maybe not mature and he's not there.
I think he's basically saying, AD, like, I can be with you, but you've got to be prepared for me to slip up. I think that's
Yeah.
what he's, yeah.
And I feel like AD is actually probably, she won't admit it, but I also think she's probably there as well.
I think she's okay with it because look how she told her mum about Clay coming home late and stuff, and her mum was like, "You good? You tough, right? You can keep up with that. It's fine."
That's
So
crazy.
yeah.
Anyway, that's it for the Love is Blind episode.
That's a wrap, guys.
Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Bye.
Bye.